Okay. All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. We'll call to order at 7:33. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance because Holloman does not do it like Open Beach, but they do it over the intercom. So we just stand for the pledge. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, first item on the agenda is recommended actions, approval of minutes. Can you provide the minutes? Unless there are any changes to the minutes, I was looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the September 11th meeting. So moved by Mr. Bowl, second. Yes. Second by Mr. DeCourt. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item C, old business discussion, PLA study. Mr. Lucy couldn't be here at the last meeting, and he wanted to discuss the PLA study. So we put it on the agenda, and Mr. Lucy, that was yours.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Tesla. There's some handouts that I provided. As you may know, I am strongly opposed to a project labor agreement on this project. I think it's completely unnecessary. It most definitely will increase costs without question. What I've included or what I provided to the committee was a little quick summary on a PLA project that was struck down in Massachusetts recently, back in May of this year. I've also included a copy of the complaint, and I've also included a copy of the project labor agreement for the Martin Middle School. And they're pretty much all the same. The project labor agreements are all the same. I highlighted certain areas, so you can just skim through. If you look at the complaint, for example, the court invalidated the PLA. You turn to the next page. The cost was $256 million. So a lot of times they'll say the large projects are too complex. We need a PLA. In this case, that wasn't the case. Turn to the next page 3. Representatives of the engineering firm provided a written opinion that adding the PLA to the project would increase the cost by roughly $15 million and 2 months for the project schedule. So that's the complaint. And then the Martin Middle School, which is an agreement that Attorney Connolly is very familiar with, has written many of them. Again, I've highlighted what I thought were the objectionable pieces, so you really don't have to read the whole thing. The prime contractor warrants and represents it has the authority from the owner to engage. And I hope in this case, the owner, the Lowell School Department, does not give the prime contractor authority to enter into a project labor agreement. You are required, although they say that open shops are eligible to bid on these projects, in theory that's correct, but in practice, the agreement makes it an impossibility for an open shop company to come in and subject their workforce, require them to join the union, require them to pay union dues, require them to work union rules, which are not typical in an open shop. And for those reasons, I don't believe we should have one. 15, 16 years ago, I was the president of the Associated General Contractors, and we were in negotiations, and there was a strike with the companies. Bill, you must remember that. I was doing the state police headquarters, and it was a large job for me. Small by today's project standards, but it was a $25 million job. I had agreements just like Dimeo with the carpenter and laborer, and just like Berman. So the job was already 50% union. And I worked with the unions and got to a point where the job went 98% union. The only non-union trade was the sprinkler contractor. I actually got a call from George Nee, the lion of labor in Rhode Island, thanking me for doing that. But that was 15 years ago. Now I'm here today as a Warwick resident. I'm a significant taxpayer. I live here, I work here, I have investment property here. And I don't think we should exclude anyone from potentially working on these projects. the Attorney Conley, Mr. Spiegel, they make a good argument, but it doesn't tell you the whole story. They tell you that there's a prevailing wage, but so there's no difference in price, and there's virtually no difference. They are correct, but the rules are different. So you can't take an open shop that has their own rules and think it's realistic that they're gonna work under the union rules. It's just not practicable. It will never happen. Now, I told Michael Sabatoni, I object to this. I told Greg Mancini of Build Rhode Island. I've told Steve Rutledge, the Executive VP and Chief Operating Officer of Demio, that I'm gonna come out guns blazing, strongly opposed to this. I did see the meeting when I was in Hawaii. I did review it, and I was kind of taken aback by Mr. Spiegel, who said this project will have a PLA. And it sounded like he was working for the building trades and not the Warwick School Department. So there's a lot of things that aren't really explained unless you're on the inside like I have been. I've worked with the unions for years. I'm still a union contract. I haven't built anything in over 10 years. But that's just my opinion. I can't see why would we, Mr. Spiegel said that there's a crunch on labor. Everybody agrees on that. There's no question there's going to be a crunch on labor. So why on earth would you restrict who could do work for you? It just doesn't make any economic sense. I speak solely as a Warwick taxpayer, not as a union contractor, which I still am, even though I'm inactive. So that's my thoughts, and I'm open to any questions and see where we want to go. I've also informed the chair of the school committee, Mr. Galligan, that I'm strongly opposed to it. I know the school committee has to approve it. And I will be making my opinions known to the school committee as well. So look, everybody knows where I stand. They know where I come from. They know what I've done, where I've been. I'm inactive now. I'm on the sidelines. I'm looking out for Warwick, and that's my position. So.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to respond or address any further concerns. First off, I do appreciate the highlighting of the Martin project. Something that my firm and I take pride in is every single PLA we do, we try to improve it. I think you can see that with the series of PLAs that we've done over the last several years. So any commentary is always greatly appreciated. The second thing I do want to point out is whether it's a practical reality or whatever the fears or concerns may be regarding a requirement to join a union and pay union dues. The Supreme Court has been clear on that. That is unconstitutional. You cannot force somebody to join a union and to pay union dues. So no one can be forced to do anything. If pragmatic realities that you have more experience with on the ground than maybe I do, that may be one thing. But in terms of constitutionality, that cannot happen. The specific reference to Mr. Spiegel saying that this will be a PLA project, I think that would probably be a result of two things. One is my report was in hand at that point in time. The analysis on whether or not a PLA was advisable was in hand. Secondarily, I think whether or not a PLA is a good idea in whole is one question. Whether or not it's a good idea for this particular project is another question. I think whether or not PLAs are a good idea, if you were to do that analysis in serious depth, your answer would be the classic attorney's answer, which would be it depends. And what you would want to do is a case-by-case analysis to see what's appropriate. That's why the feasibility studies are required. I am not familiar with the Massachusetts project that was overturned, but I'm going to have some level of confidence, totally blind, that it's not based on a grant and refund program with really strict requirements like we are. So there may be alternate financing available. I'm going to doubt that it's an occupied site with schools. I'm going to doubt that the site access is as challenging as the site access we have in our two sites. But I think most importantly, what has happened in Rhode Island specific to these school projects is the percentage of school projects that have agreed to a PLA, which has just increased over time, is near absolute, if not absolute, such that there is a market expectation involved at this point. So the primary concern about a PLA for me, once costs start to become really equal, right? The other concern you gotta think about is risk. What is the risk of a project being disturbed? In Rhode Island right now, these school projects have a market expectation of a PLA being in place. Our site access quality is low. The risk of an occupied site is high. It's a very complicated project because of those features. It would be incredibly easy for unions to completely disrupt this project. I think Mr. Spiegel talked about the additional cost very eloquently. I think it's cited, sort of a general rule of thumb for every month of delay, what the additional cost is. I want to add something to that, which we do not deal with in too much detail because I'm very happy with the speed and pace of this project, especially at the scale that it's at, for its buying power in the market. If this project slows down, it will move our timeline deeper and deeper into the labor crunch that we anticipate as a result of the General Assembly program stopping. So more and more schools are coming online later on, which we should be able to beat them, or at least if we're not beating them, we have enough buying power that we're still getting the contracts that we want. So I'm worried about that for this particular project. All elements that are specific to this project. So when we talk about other instances when a PLA is overturned, it's probably because it was inappropriate for that site, for that build, for the financing at hand, for the use at hand. So there's a lot that goes into this sort of analysis. The other thing that we just talked about now from the two different sides is the concerns with the labor restriction. Labor restriction is a very big concern, no doubt. Now, at the scale of a project like this, there are many shops or many areas of this project where the only shops that are operating at this scale are union shops. Even if the unions don't picket the project, they can suddenly become disinterested in bidding on it, or they could become disinterested in bidding on it at rates that make any sense. So the labor restriction could actually cut back against us because of our vulnerability with the fact that there are insufficient open shops to do certain work on these projects. Again, all of this is really driven because of the market expectation associated with these types of school projects within Rhode Island. It's not something that my first few PLA studies spent a lot of time on. Also, the number of projects going online at the same time was not something I spent my first few PLA studies spending a lot of time on because those two factors weren't a reality yet. They are a reality now. The momentum behind the PLAs is stronger and stronger and stronger. And the risk, I think, is going higher and higher of not going on a PLA. So you're getting pushed in two different directions. Those are fact patterns specific to Rhode Island and specific to these school projects. So you have the market expectations in Rhode Island and you have the site specifics for these two projects that I think are really key drivers. Once you get down to, again, those prices being not that different, all things being considered, look at what you're, to the extent that there is a price difference, look at what you're purchasing with that price difference. You're avoiding all of the concerns I just identified. So what the price difference is, I'm not exactly sure. That's not something you can truly know until bids go out and you receive answers. But what I am very, very confident of is you are avoiding a great deal of risk. And I think the risk in these projects, because of the way the funding works and because of the way the school year works, and it's not a small problem for a community if your school is not open at the beginning of the school year. That's a very large issue. And so when we're up against those sorts of timeframes and those financial concerns with the two risks that have grown in Rhode Island in the specific market, I think you need to be very, very considerate of those limited and focused issues, as opposed to the larger philosophical concern about whether or not project labor agreements are a good idea in all cases. I don't think they're a good idea in all cases. That's why we have to do the labor, the study before we enter into one.
Mr. Holmes.
You said a lot of what I was going to say. So absolutely. No, that's fine. That's fine. The possible disruption is a huge thing. Time is huge for us here. Number one. Number two, how many ELAs have been overturned in Rhode Island? None to my knowledge. So.
Yeah, no, there was
And there's one in Massachusetts, it's in Massachusetts. So I'm not sure that it applies to us. I've been in the business a long time myself, as we all know. But I'm concerned about the harmony on the job. We all know that it's gonna be a prevailing rate job. So cost is not gonna be that much of a difference. Cost may be a little bit of a difference if somebody had to join the union. It'd be a cost difference for the worker, not for us. They gotta pay prevailing rate. The reason we did the study was just that, to study the the pros and cons of doing a PLA. And I don't want to end up repeating all the rest of the stuff. I just wanted to reiterate that I think it's well within, knowing unions the way I do. He makes really light of the fact of how, if they wanted to, they could mess this up. If they wanted to, you know, just causing it more than just picketing. As he said, the supply, the manpower, all of a sudden, that they come up with a PLA job over here, which there's gonna be a lot of, if they're not already, and ours, well, even the union guys they're not gonna man the job. They may not picket the job, but they probably won't man the job. There's many different ways to affect the progress of a job. And I think if we're at all concerned about that, there's so many ways we can do to make sure that doesn't happen. So I'm totally for it. And I think for the reasons that we did the study. And they came out very good. It was an independent study. I don't recall it. Oh, I know what there was one more. There's been discussions, and Chris isn't here, but there's been discussions with the building trades. Now, I admit I'm retired and I don't have all of the, oh, he's not here. All of the ins and outs of what was discussed, but I know the building trades have had discussions about this job and about this PLA. And I believe that they've reached whatever made everybody happy. It's my belief, but I'm not quite as involved as I used to be.
That's probably a reference to the letter that was sent to us in advance.
Yeah.
Basically, specific items that they're willing to agree to in the PLA
Yeah.
before we even began.
Before we even began.
Yeah.
So I don't see where it's gonna be that big of a cost difference, which my learned cohort here is trying to make it out to be.
I have a question. We have independent estimators, that we've hired, third-party estimators, and they claim to go all union, it's 5 to 10% more to build a building than, prevailing rate. Can you explain why they would say it's 5 to 10% more, to go all union?
Because it's true.
I would defer to their expertise on that front. I mean, I do think, some of the reasons for that cost, I don't know whether or not those estimates are for specifically this project or what union labor's additional costs and.
They are, they're for
Specific to
this project, yeah.
Fair enough. It may just be concern about the rules and the pace that were identified. One of the things that we've done is kind of work through a way that we make sure the pace is appropriate for the deadlines in the project. That's been in my most recent PLA agreements. The source of the additional costs, I'm not sure. I think if you're asking yourself, let's assume a worst case scenario, it's a 10% additional cost. Let's think about that 10% additional cost versus the risks that I've identified. What if you're missing the school year by an entire year? Do you think that there's a chance that union shops are going to increase their bids by, say, 10% because they know that there's no open shops that are available to do the work on the project? They know there's nowhere else for you to go. Why not just bump it up 10%? I think the 5 to 10% additional cost may not deal with some of the matters. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, sir, but you just identified a series of ways that Mr. Holmes, Mr. Holmes just identified with how if the unions are upset with how a project is working, there's a million small ways that can slow things down. There's a lot of sludge involved. Yeah, that's probably not true in Kentucky or Texas. That's true in Rhode Island.
And the production, just one quick thing. the production may, with a union craft, has been proven to bring it in quicker as well, so that may offset the slight increase in wages.
Any other comments from committee members? Mr.
Do you know if this decision was appealed, the project moved forward? How did it move forward? Was it, is there a PLA in place or not?
There's no PLA. The PLA was invalidated. They proposed a PLA
Is there,
against the advice of the executive director of the water authority. And the judge invalidated it back in May. So I don't know where the project
is
is.
there an appeal on it now?
I don't know. I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
Just a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Just, not being familiar with RIDE, is there a penalty from RIDE if there's a delay because of, the union striking or things like that?
You risk financing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you risk incentives. The incentives are an extra 17, 18%,
Oh, we got 35 to 20%.
So about 20%.
So that's.
Yeah, if the project's not completed on
Yeah,
time.
if we were delayed and we did not
You would
get
risk
extension, we could lose.
Yeah.
Do we know how many PLAs have been used with these type of projects? The school departments throughout the state?
To my knowledge, over the last, let's say 3 years, every school project, to my knowledge.
And what's the cost increase?
Apparently, there's an estimate on this project that is at 5 to 10%.
To create this PLA and the agreement, what's that cost? And what's it going to take away from the construction cost? Or is this already been added into the 350 million?
Basically, for my work, for the
Yeah,
amount of labor spent creating the PLA and the study, I bid it on this project. It would probably been maybe 15,000.
Yeah, when we had left field pay that, you guys paid that.
Yeah, it's under our contract.
Okay. Right, so I just wonder if there was something that the school was gonna have to have taken away from them because
Yeah, it
of
wouldn't,
the agreement.
I wouldn't see that. I don't think that's an issue.
So in Mr. Sabatini's letter in August of 2024, he states that he wants, non-union personnel to pay union dues and become union members. And you stated that that's unconstitutional.
I understand what he wants. Actually forcing it and requiring it to happen, I don't believe there's a legal avenue for him to do that.
So being the head of the
Building trades.
building trades, why would you say something unconstitutional in writing?
I mean, I think it's a part of advocacy.
There's other ways to go about advocacy and not put in writing to a board who, this is still America. It seems like he's forcing this on us, and that's what I have a problem with.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr.
in the, Attorney Connor, are you familiar with the Mountain Middle School? Were you involved in that?
I am.
PLA study? Okay. Right on page 4, section 4, the contractor agrees to deduct the amount identified of the hourly dues check-off portion of the union dues in each of the union's collective bargaining agreements and to the Rhode Island Building and Construction Trades in this agreement. So you say it's not constitutional, it's required in this recent agreement.
But there's been a discussion on it, and I don't know the results of it. There's been a discussion since then between Siegel, Chris, and Michael Sabatini.
Now, I hear everything that's being said. I do. And I think I mentioned at the last meeting that my concern is if there are, most of the job is going to be union work anyway.
At least 85% automatically union,
Right. So if we're,
guaranteed.
so that subset that's potentially not going to be union work, we'll say. Is there flexibility to negotiate that into your agreement, right? And then left field is the owner's project manager. They're not Dimio's project manager, they're the labor's project, they're our project manager. So, I view it as almost like a fiduciary responsibility to us, right? To negotiate in our best interest. So what I'm not sure of is, we don't know what the negotiations are and whatnot. My concern is if it's not a wage issue, if it ultimately is not a wage issue, right? Then what else drives the costs up? So if it's rules, because everything costs money in a project, so rules cost money. So, and again, I'm not in this trade, so you know, I have to defer to the experts. We need a level of comfort knowing that the OPM is negotiating in our best interest. Because I think there is portions of this based on all the labor shortages and that you may not be able to find union work for. And it would make no sense to me or to any rational thinking person, I think, is to negotiate away your ability to not impact your project because you locked yourself in to a trade that can't provide the manpower. Right, so now the project gets delayed. So, because to me, the word's flexibility. There's got to be some flexibility in there, negotiating in there, so that the project doesn't suffer because, you know, we've kind of hamstrung ourselves a little bit, right? And I'm a realist. I'm a realist. I completely understand Mr. Lucy's point of view. The pragmatist in me says a project this size of a PLA, I think, is a problem.
So, can I just interject one thing, because it is on section 4. So that first section isn't saying that they're going to deduct union dues from every employee. The next section specifies that the checkoff deductions would be from each employee who is a member of the union.
The words out of my mouth.
Yeah,
So that's on page what?
page 4, section 4. So it's not forcing people to be in the union.
No,
It's simply stating that they're deducting the dues from the people who are in the union.
No, I disagree. You will be required to join the union.
So
Mr. Chairman.
is it, go ahead.
May I speak?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr.
How, if that is not constitutional, how can that happen? But to get that.
Right, that's what I'm hung up on is why does the head of the union, Utility Trade Council, put this in writing to us?
And that shouldn't end up in this.
Right.
Right, if it truly is, in your legal advice, in your opinion, it's unconstitutional, it should not be in this agreement, right? And we're gonna be able to approve this agreement or not,
yeah,
right?
that's where I was gonna.
Look at section 2, please, on page 4. I'm gonna read it for the record.
Yep.
All journeyman and apprentice employees referred to herein as an employee who are employed by contractor performing work covered by the scope of this agreement on the date hereof, who are members of the union, shall remain members for the duration of this agreement as a condition of employment on the project. And those employees who are not members shall become members of the union within 8 calendar days of the date of their employment for work on the project, and shall remain members of the union for the duration of this agreement as a condition of employment on this project. So for people to say that it's not requiring people to be in the union, it's right here in a recent agreement. And again,
It's in Massachusetts.
this is the Martin Middle School, Providence School District.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so
When was
let's,
this written?
this is a recent.
All right, maybe 2 years, maybe a year. So,
And even if you exempt the non-union members from joining a union, it's not practical to assume that they're gonna expose their work and have to work by union rules. It's just not gonna do it. You know, Nathan Clark, your home sold guaranteed. I'll buy your house if it doesn't sell at fair market value. He's been advertising that for 12 years. He bought my building in Smithfield when I moved in 2017. He's never bought one house. So you can make promises knowing if it's an impossibility, it's a false promise. So,
a very quick tangent on the constitutionality matter there. I was involved, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 years ago now, in a lawsuit related to required union membership for these people that were performing police work in the town of Westwood. And there's a federal lawsuit, and I was representing the town. And so I was of the position that they were required to conform to certain clauses within the collective bargaining agreement with the police union. I briefed the matter. We were scheduled for a motion for summary judgment in front of Judge Smith. It's probably at that point in my career, the hardest I'd ever worked in any project. I was ready to go, absolutely gearing up. The morning of my oral argument in front of Judge Smith, Supreme Court issued the Janus decision, which basically said that every single position I had in my motion for summary judgment was unconstitutional. So I walked in that morning and the judge just looked me in the face and goes, "Do you just want to drop this case and go home?" I said, "Yes, Your Honor, I do." And that was that. I've never been so thoroughly beaten or unlucky in my entire life. So the case law on this has shifted within the past decade. This language is not intended to require, union membership. Well, I understand your point, given what I've just read, and that's something that I would like to update on, any further PLAs I work on.
Yeah, so, because I hear you, but words matter, so.
They do.
So, especially in the legal world, right? So if it says it, to his point, but
That's,
buy a
that's
house,
why,
whatever.
this is just the study to do project labor.
Yeah, no,
The
I
documents-
understand. So the devil's in the
documents,
details,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
The devil's absolutely in the
It can be,
details.
everything can be negotiated.
Yeah,
The results
Yeah.
being whatever they may be, but everything can be negotiated.
Yeah.
Except for the prevailing rate.
yeah.
In
right.
essence,
Okay. Any other comments from anyone else on this? It was a discussion item. It wasn't an action item, so it's a discussion. All right. Okay. Thank you, everybody, truly. All right. Next, D, project administration. Well, we have change order reports. EW Berman, Oakland Beach. Mechanical and building envelope. Steve, Mr. Goffberg.
We have two items with, this project, on the PCO log number 44. There was a existing sprinkler pipe not related to the project that was leaking. So on an emergency basis, they, Delta repaired it for us, $389. We seek your approval.
So moved by Mr. McCaffrey. Second. I'll second. Any discussion on that one? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Number 47 on the PCO log. As you know, the gas service for Oakland Beach was undersized. We did get Rhode Island Energy to do the work, and give us a new service for no additional charge. However, Delta did have to redo the service from the meter, had to upsize it. It was not included in the project. 9,000, excuse me.
230.
9,000. 230. Seek your approval. We have checked the work. We deem it reasonable.
Any questions for Mr. Goffberg on that one?
Was this wasn't considered during the design phase or?
I believe we discussed this earlier, but, what had happened was the pipe into the building seemed large enough. However, when, we found out that the service line from the street was only 5/8 of an inch and it needed to be, minimum of 1.5 inches, so we increased it. So, it had to be rerouted, because of where the existing service came in, we had to relocate the meter. The additional work was not just a reconnection, it was a total rework of the service from the meter to the inside of the building and reconnect to the existing pipe that was sized properly.
Any other questions for Mr. Goffberg? Okay, hearing none. Looking for a motion to approve PCO number 47 for $9,230.
so moved.
Moved by Mr. Lucy, second.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Glory and Mr. Bowl. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, change orders, B, Allbar Construction, Wall Connect Elevator and Site.
Okay, we have, PCO number 11 is just an update and, we had put the wrong number in. Originally it was, we had $3,000 and change. The actual number was 4,657. Because it included the new trees that had to be, they're gonna have to be planted for this. So, we update you and seek your approval for 4,657 as opposed to, I think it was $3,300.
Okay, any questions for Steve?
We just have a change order report, Steve.
What's that?
Number 11.
Number 11.
Are these the trees that are going in the new island?
Correct.
Okay. Because that was all reconfigured, right?
Right, we shifted it, and we just could not save the trees, so the trees had to be removed. Yeah.
Moved by Mr. McCaffrey, second. Second by Mr. Lucy. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Steve.
There's a number 14 is a fire alarm device relocation. Fire alarm module needed to be relocated. It rewired when the wall came down. We found that the module was attached to the wall and had to be relocated by code. So $1,517 we seek your approval.
Okay, any questions for Steve on PCO number 14? Seeing hearing none, motion to approve PCO 14 for $1,517.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lucy and Superintendent Damber.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. McCaffrey. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Next one, Mr. Goffman.
Number 16, an additional LED wall pack. When we put up the addition, the existing exterior light was assumed that it was going to light the stairs. Or when we put up the stair tower, Mr. DeCourt was there, we realized that the light would not light the stairs and we needed a light over the stairs. So unfortunately, we have to follow that code. And so we additional wall pack and the labor to install it, $2,141 to light the stairway coming out of the second floor down to the parking lot.
Okay, moved by Mr. PCO 16, moved by Mr. McCaffrey, second. Second by Mr. Holmes and Mr. Bowl. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. That's it for those, right? Okay. So now we have consent payment authorizations. Okay, item 5A, do 5A and B at once. BR&A Consulting Engineers for the high school totaling $2,275.
Mr. Bates?
This is Mr. Bates, right? Yes.
Yeah.
These are progress invoices for our commissioning agent. They did reviews of the schematic design documents, and that is what this is for.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Bates on that? This is ongoing, right? BRA's work will be ongoing.
They are contracted with us for the duration of the project.
Right. Okay.
And this was just the start with them, and it was minor work in the beginning, correct?
Yeah, this is minor work, correct? It's just document review.
All right. If there are no questions, looking for a motion to approve items 5A and B for $2,275. So moved. Moved by Mr. Lucy. Second? Second by Ms. Danbrook and Mr. DeCourt. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item C and D, Dimeo Construction for the high school, application 5 for Pilgrim. And
Yep.
I told you.
These are for Pilgrim, that's their monthly pre-con amount, that's 10% for 10 months, $19,136. For the toll gate, that's the same value. In addition, there's the trailer rental fee at the toll gate school, and a little bit of enabling work for the subcontractors that we're still paying for it. So it's the pre-con fee plus that drum rock enabling work. That's the 31,000.
And the note says pending certification, both, I looked at it, and John
Yep,
looked at
we
it, it was
both reviewed
fine,
it.
so, Mr. Guglielmo did certify it, but he wanted our input first, so it has been certified.
Okay. Any questions for either Mr. Bates or Mr. Gothberg?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mr. McCaffrey.
Second.
Second by Mr. DeCourt. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, E.W. Berman, application 1, Oakland Beach facade.
This is the first, application for payment for the Oakland Beach facade work. It has been verified and, the demolition is complete, temporary protection in place, along with all the staging and mobilization. We seek your approval.
Any questions for Steve, for Mr. Gothberg on it? Okay, looking for motion to approve E.W. Berman, item E for $119,490.
So moved.
Moved by Superintendent Danbrook. Second by Mr. Holmes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, application 9 for E.W. Berman, $761,982.62.
This is application number 9, has been verified by Subcommittee and Associates, Mike and myself. We seek your approval.
Okay. Motion to approve item F, application 9 for $761,982.62.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bowl,
Second.
second by Mr. Lucy. Any questions for anyone? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Green Acres Landscape Construction, application 2 for Hoxie and Oakland Beach.
Application number 2, Hoxie. This is for final payment except for retainage, $28,516.03. We seek your approval.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Gothberg on this 2? Hearing none, looking for a motion to approve Green Acres items G and H totaling $43,616.03.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bowles, second. I'll second. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Excuse me. Okay, item I, left field, project manager, high school.
Oakland Beach.
Oh, no, we took them both.
You took them both?
Yeah, we did them both.
All right.
All right, so next item I, left field invoice, $110,000.
Motion to table. No, only kidding.
A little levity always. All right, Mr. Gothberg, this is the standard monthly.
Monthly invoice for left fields work on the high school projects, $110,000. We seek your approval.
Okay,
There may be a question. I'm not sure.
motion to approve left field for $110,000.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Corey, seconded by Mr. Lucy. Any questions from Mr. Bates or Mr. Gothberg? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, item J, Newton Washburn LLC for $17,577.69.
This is for the physical work. Hoffman does all the paperwork through DEN, but Newton Washburn has done all the physical work to close the oil tank at the Greenwood project. It has been completed. It's filled with flowable fill. Everything pumped out, cleaned, everything approved. We seek your approval for $17,577.69.
Okay, all right. Any questions for Mr. Gothberg on item J? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve item J for $17,577.69.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bowl, second
Second.
by Mr. Lucy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next, Sakosha and Associates items.
No.
I'm sorry, next is Sam Architecture
Sam.
for high school in the amount of $449,268.75.
This is their monthly invoice for Sam's design work for the Pilgrim High School project.
Okay.
They are virtually at DD work, design development stage. We are waiting for SD approval, but they are well on their way.
Any questions for Mr. Gothberg or Mr. Bates?
We're still within budget in terms of design work.
Uh,
We're on
We-
schedule to be under budget.
we're on schedule wise and as it pertains to design, yeah, we're on track. Budget wise, we still have things we're looking at. We still have scope and budget alignment as we've been doing for the past 4 months.
Yep.
So nothing's changed there.
I was just checking on design work because I think everybody always sees the SOM invoice and
Yeah, they bill monthly, but they're chugging along.
Yep.
Yeah, nothing to questions there. They're keeping on schedule and on track. Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve SOM item K, $449,268.75. Moved by Mr. Holmes, second. Second by Mr. Bowl. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now, Sakosha Associates items L through Y totaling $38,918.19.
This is for the Greenwood Mechanical, Warwick Neck site, Warwick Neck elevator, Oakland Beach Mechanical, building envelope, all things included in the Oakland Beach project, the Holland project, And then, the beginning of the work for the, Cedar Hill, Hoxie Park, Robertson Wyman Building Envelope Project. So $38,918.19. Your approval.
Does anyone have any questions for either Mr. Gothberg or Mr. Guglielmo on any individual item in that mix? Okay, if not, then I'll look for motion to approve Subcommittee items L through Y totaling $38,918.19.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lucy, second. Second by Mr. DeCourt. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, item Z, Subcommittee Associates High School, Tollgate High School Project, $265,815. The Gopher, you?
This is for their high school work.
That's for the regular high school work.
Regular high school work, yeah.
Any questions for either Mr. Gothberg or Mr. Guglielmo on the Tollgate High School work that they're doing?
So where does that put us now in terms of how far behind are we from Pilgrim and where are we in approval status?
We're about a month behind. About where we thought we, because of the redesign. We're ready to submit for SD,
Yes.
okay? Mr. Guglielmo's documents are ready. We're gonna start uploading actually today.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, looking for motion to approve Subcommittee item Z for $265,815. So moved. Moved by Mr. Lucy, second. Second by Mr. DeCourt. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item sign it, item AA for $94. Mr. Gothberg.
This is the first invoice on the bid that was approved last month. Signet, we had a problem at Oakland Beach, cabling to one of the new doors. The swipe would not work. We had to bring them in. There's an existing condition not related to the construction, so that took care of it for us. Seek your approval for $94.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Glory, second by Mr. DeCourt. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? My new business discussion, project status update, Mr. Gothberg.
Okay, if we Warwick Neck elevator starts, actually elevator itself comes on Friday. It's be delivering at 5 a.m. Work starts, almost immediately. We're in good shape over there. Finished paving is tomorrow morning. There is no school tomorrow due to the Jewish holiday, Rosh Hashanah. So we are taking advantage of that. Final paving happens, striping happens, line striping happens on Saturday. As we all know, we love elevator projects and elevator companies. But we're moving ahead. This will be done almost. Our assumption is by the time everything's done, we're about a month away. Elevators, they're saying 10 to 12 days for the elevator, but yet the elevator door frame goes in, we have to finish the masonry work around it, and then, finish painting and all that. So we're about a month away on that. Greenwood, they started testing and balancing. Everything's working very nicely over there. The tempered air system, everybody seems to be very happy. We had a couple balancing issues that were taken care of, and one major complaint we got has gone away. We had that tomorrow, most of the punch list items will be taken care of. So we're in good shape over there. Oakland Beach, the majority of the windows except for one arrived this week. So they are moving ahead. Our assumption is middle of November, we believe we'll be finished with the building envelope project. If that last one opens in what it's supposed to. The Oakland Beach facade, as you know, this was something that was not planned for. Once the deficiencies were found and the danger we noted, we moved ahead so that we could take care of this. When we did the forensic work, we brought in the structural engineer. We picked a couple spots that looked to be the worst. We opened it up, now that the demolition's done, we have found that the backer brick and the areas that we did not look at is horrific. So there will be a change order coming. The structural engineer came back out and looked at it. We don't know the impact at this point in time, but there is substantial additional work that needs to be done, so we'll bring that forward. We're not, unless we opened up in these specific areas, it couldn't be seen. It's where the course, they actually turn the brick sideways and tie it into the backer brick. And then that whole backer brick has come apart, so they had to come up with a new plan for it. So that's that note on that one. Solomon, we're already 2 weeks ahead of schedule. Everything's going very well over there. Ballboard's doing a good job. And they're driving it forward and look to get that done earlier than we even talked about. So, we're feeling good about that project.
Steve, can I have the Oakland Beach on the facade part? What part of the building is that? Is that the old part of the building?
Yeah, that's the original part of, well, I don't know if it's the original part of the building, but it's the oldest part of the building, facing Oakland Beach Avenue. If you look at it, there's look at the front elevation, there's a limestone cornice that goes around like this. The brick above that is where it's all deteriorated and falling apart. It's actually bowed out. And the mortar joints are bad, and it's been leaking. And it's probably been leaking for years, but it let go and everything kind of pulled forward, and it was a danger of falling on someone. So it had to get taken care of.
Okay. Anything else on your end? Mr. Robo fits in with public comment. Yeah. Public comment. Okay. All right. Okay. Any questions for Steve on any of the project updates? All right, next, new business item 2, high school project update for left field. Mr. Spiegel and Mr. Bates, floor is yours.
Well, kick us off. We don't have our typical monthly report. We'll pick that back up next month. I'll just give you a few updates. Ty and Bond, the environmental engineer that we've hired to look into the potential soil contamination on both sites. They're going to have their phase 1 site assessment to us for the next month's building committee meeting to look at. So based on their findings of this phase 1 analysis, we're going to know the extent of the soil testing that we're going to be going forward.
Do we know what that is yet or no?
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
No, we don't have it. We haven't done
Fingers
it
crossed.
yet, so we'll see next month. Mr. Gottberg already mentioned that the RISE Stage 3 design review on the Pilgrim project's already underway. We did get a list of comments from them, to which we quickly responded. We're waiting final approval on that. On that. And then the Tollgate Stage 3 package will be uploaded, as we said, to the RISE portal at the end of this week. And that's it. That's my update.
Anything else? You guys all set?
Just typical things that we're going through right now. What our work has been focused on, again, is trying to deliver the most value to the project. That means taking a look at every single program, what we need, what we can do without, and we'll be coming back to this committee with recommendations on moving forward. So stay tuned. Next meeting to be with the environmental report and the work that we're doing now. Next meeting should be one of those ones we've been talking about leading up to for difficult conversations. That'll probably be next meeting. So we've been letting everybody know that this was the path we were headed down, and we'll come back to our next meeting with some recommendations.
Okay, and that next meeting is November 6th. Okay. Any other? Yeah, Mr. Spiegel.
Hate to bring up a sore subject, but the submissions for FAA.
Yes. So Mr. Kravitz isn't here. We've been going back and forth with him on the height of the location of the field lighting at Pilgrim High School. So we've sent to him, I guess we'll call it a progress plan of what we think the Musco, I shouldn't say Musco, wouldn't necessarily be Musco field lighting, but the field lighting and the potential heights that we're looking at to keep that application process open with the FAA. It's going to be ongoing. We're still looking at the actual heights that they're going to be. We don't know that yet.
So 8 feet is max?
Yeah, 80 feet would be the max. 70 is more typical for that kind of lighting.
So the submission to FAA, 80 feet would be the max. Anything less would be okay with them.
No, I don't,
Yeah, I think theoretically.
we don't know
Yeah.
yet what's okay with them yet, but, I mean, that's what we're looking at. Again, I mean, I think we probably want it to be reduced as much as possible, but,
And I think it has to do with what typical flight paths where runways are aligned, all those sorts of things. So
Right,
it's,
I've been copied on all the emails, so I know where this is, but I was just pretty well, I'll ask in person.
yeah.
Just concerned about fall zones for the towers being next to residential properties, and who's gonna change the light bulbs?
I thought you were.
DPW's comments.
There'll be LEDs.
Yeah.
So we always.
DPW is gonna do that for us.
You'll be on one before they burn out.
About 80 feet, you're like, oh, yeah, right.
I didn't realize, but I think they're also looking for longitude and latitude coordinates of the field itself.
We're gonna have to provide that at some point. Yeah, in the short term, we wanted to keep that application open with them because there was a 30-day window, expiration day, and if it closed, then the conversation's over. But again, it's gonna be an iterative process because we don't know the final heights of the lights. And, I think the locations are locked in. So in the next round, we'll be able to provide the coordinates and keep this moving. So.
Okay. Any other questions for?
As with anything, the ship of state turns quite slowly.
No, I understand, I just, I've been copied on the emails, I've been following it, I'm here in person, I just thought I'd ask him.
Super interesting stuff.
Yeah. Just, the fall, we do with the cell towers, where the fall zones are, being close to residential, so we gotta make sure that,
Noted.
well, these are my concerns.
Of course,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I didn't even
Not
think
who
about,
changes the
I didn't
light
even
bulbs.
think about that. Now you made me scared for fall zones on cell phone towers. Wasn't even on my radar.
Okay, anything else? All right, so next up is the public comment. We have Mr. Walborg is here.
Good morning, everybody, I'm Glenn Olborn. Should I move up to the front?
Yeah, sure, certainly.
Let's see what else, man.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Here to talk about Warwick Next School.
Okay.
And, we did have an incident that occurred there just after the opening of school with an access door, to a construction area. That was secured, but it wasn't locked. We had the door shut, but it was not locked. And, my project management team was remiss in that regard. And I apologize for that. That never should have happened. The door should have been locked and should have been properly labeled. I know our project superintendent, Jesse Simmons, had a discussion with Ms. Danbrook, and I think his demeanor and his tone was a little defensive, and I apologize for that as well. He has since issued a letter of apology in that regard. And that situation should not have happened, and will ensure that it will not happen again going forward.
This comment, we don't comment on comment, so. Okay, all right. Public. Technically, no, because it will become an agenda item. Yeah. Okay, all right, so. Committee member requests for future considerations with Mr. Holmes.
Well, for today, I'm not sure how, based on what you just said, I don't know. I would request a executive session for a few minutes, right now if possible, or we gotta wait till next month.
We probably have to wait for next month. And do it early and post it.
You'd have to
Post
wait
it.
till next one.
Yeah, for the beginning of the first 20 minutes could be an executive session thing. We could do that. We could do that. Yeah,
Right.
because it wouldn't be, it's not on the agenda today then.
But I,
You're wrong.
okay, because I thought we did it one other time a while ago. We went into executive session at the end of the meeting to discuss.
I don't ever remember us doing an executive session on the building committee. I don't remember.
Because it was the other committee.
Yeah,
All
sometimes
right.
you can start executive. Go back
It's
and-
just a
Yeah.
request, really.
Yeah, so we'll
Clarification.
absolutely put it on the next meeting and start with an executive session. That's fine. I can do it.
But it's a public meeting, it needs to be posted.
Yeah, so we have. to
All right.
post it.
I wasn't sure of the process, so.
All right, next meeting is Wednesday, November 6th. So mark your calendars, be there. Okay, other than that, there's nothing else before the committee. Seek a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Slater.
To apologize to the group for my tardiness today. There was an accident on the bridge. Took me about, at one point, Waze told me to go through Newport to get here. So I apologize, for being late today.
I live on the East Bay, that's what happens. All right, so motion to adjourn. So moved by Mr. Holmes and Mr. Lucy, second.
You were still talking.
Second to adjourn? Second by Mr. Vol, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, we're adjourned.
You're still wrong.
Stop recording.
Still wrong.